Just waiting for my tablet to boot up here.
Just 2 minutes.
Thank you for that.
That's right. That's right. Don't hurry. When I tried to, they didn't show anybody between that.
We got on here. Cassie
When I was
and
looking at the gas screens, maybe.
Dan. Okay, so who else?
The motorcycle makes it.
There's a white bus.
Ontario, these are called Frenchton. Yeah.
Yeah, John's fake. Yeah, okay.
Came directly from Italy. Came from the park. Midnight, actually pretty.
Why am I not seeing? What am I not seeing?
Yeah. As soon as we kept this up, starting like, hey, and yeah, get
Says 7. I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call by county clerk.
My memory is.
We have 28 present and 1 absent.
You. Pledge of allegiance, please rise. Supervisor Falco, will you lead us tonight?
Okay. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a moment of silence, think about peace and a holiday season coming up. Thank you. Please be seated. We're in compliance with open meetings.
We are, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Second by Jacob. Who moved? Mr. Paulson. Anybody see anything they need to change or move for convenience sake? Seeing none. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Mr. Winnicky, approval of the minutes.
I would I move to approve the minutes of October 24th, 2023, and November 14th, 2023 as presented.
So moved by Mr. Winnicky, second by Supervisor Morris. Any additions, subtractions? Supervisor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The October 24th, 2024 draft county board meeting minutes state under public comments that a member of the public spoke in reference to the Fair Park meeting she attended. The person that spoke specifically expressed concerns as an elected official. That person that spoke was me. We can better serve our constituents by rewording the sentence in the official meeting minutes. Mr. Chair, I move to amend the 2024 County Board meeting minutes to read under public comments. Supervisor Anita Martin spoke in reference to the October 23rd, 2023 open forum Fair Park meeting she attended. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Winnicky. Discussion. The only thing I would add in discussion here is that when you sign up for public comment, you're signing up as a citizen, and we don't record any other citizens. But when they sign in a sheet, they do have their name, address, phone. Those things are all on there. So all we're all talking about is whether we should start printing all of these in the minutes. And we get charged quite a bit when these get printed in the minutes. You get charged by the lines. And is it necessary when that is available to the public by request anyway? That's my concern. Anyone else have any comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Aye. The minutes are amended. Now, bring the whole minutes to the floor. Motion is on the floor to adopt the minutes of of October 24th and November 14th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Okay. Communications. Audrey.
We have the notice of public hearing, planning and zoning, which is December 21st, 2023, starting at 7 PM. And then you should also find your treasurer's monthly report. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment. Do we have anybody for public comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll move to annual reports. Emergency government. Ms. Donna Hogan. I can do it. I know, we can both, yes.
I've shrunk. Good evening. I wanted to just let you know, some people always ask what emergency management does, and in a very condensed version, it's the management function charged with creating the framework where communities reduce vulnerability to hazards, cope with and recover from disasters. Emergency management focuses on the management of disasters, which are events that produce more impact than a community can handle on its own. So what we do is we try to, if the community cannot handle it, then it goes to the county. And then we try to help them there, and if the county can't help it, then it's my responsibility to go to the state and get resources from them. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on that. We have gone through a very active year in 2023. We experienced 3 tornadoes. 2 of them were in the town of Palmyra, and 1 was near Lake Ripley. We had severe wind event that affected 4 townships, 1 village, and 1 city, representing over $500,000 in damages. These events were not declared disasters, so there was no reimbursement, or they couldn't apply for any reimbursement for the disasters. But what we did was we assisted them with something called the Wisconsin Disaster Fund. The Wisconsin Disaster Fund provides reimbursement up to 70% of the money spent on debris clearance, protective measures, and damages to roads and bridges. The best thing that happened in 2023 was we got new offices. We got new offices, and we got a brand-new EOC, and we're extremely grateful for all of that. It's certainly going to enhance our capability to assist in responding to and recovering from disasters throughout the whole county. I invite all of you to come and see our new EOC. It's really wonderful. I can't wait to begin training on it, so. Sheriff says I can't do training because usually when I do training, something happens, so. I realized you only received my annual report tonight, so if you get a chance to read it, or hopefully when you get a chance to read it, I would be more than happy to, and actually look forward to answering any questions that you might have regarding that. I just wanted to say, too, in conclusion, I appreciate the county board's efforts and support of emergency management. Administrator Waymeyer, Sheriff's Office, Chief Deputy Hunter, and Sheriff Milbrath, and their support and continued assistance with emergency management. And then I'd also like to thank the Law Enforcement Emergency Management Committee, who helps me. They provide guidance and on things that we present to them during the year. One other thing is this is going to be my last annual report to the county board because I will be retiring in September of next year. So after a little over 32 years. So It's been a pleasure. Any questions? I did a really good
Any
job.
questions? Any questions for Donna? We wish you the best in your retirement, Donna, but you aren't going to get out of here that quickly or that easily.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is annual report from Highway Commissioner, Mr. Bill Kern.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Curran, the Highway Commissioner, and I'm the one that gave you the two big reports last month. So all the homework, I hope you actually got a chance to go through them a little bit. And the pavement report, I'm going to make this fairly quick tonight because the Highway Committee and the Finance Committee have already seen a lot of this and done a presentation on some of this for them. But I thought for the first time in many years, I want to do a more formal report and actually give it out to the whole board. So hopefully you found it interesting and actually went through it. And it's something we do every year in our planning process. It takes us several months to kind of go through and work up actually our history of our projects, where we're kind of going, and the selection actually of our projects for the coming year and next several years. It's not like we just sit there and throw darts at the board, to pick our projects out, or go out there and pave the road in front of the county board chair's house or something like that. That's, well, I think we did do that last year and the year before, but that's a coincidence. So, but actually, it's a lot of work. I'm just going to highlight a few things, a few maps out of the report. So I don't know if Ben's going to actually pull up a couple maps. So you can get them up here. The first one actually may be a little bit hard to see, but it was in the report. It's a project history map, and it's in section 3 of the report. And this is one of the maps we put together every year as we finish up projects, as we're working through our program. And it actually highlights, if you have the report at home and as you look through it, one thing you're going to see on the report in this page, in this map, actually is every single segment of the county highway. You're going to see the year we actually redid that section of pavement and paved that section of roadway. And then we take that map actually and break it out into the 5-year segments. So as you look at the map, you're going to see a lot of that blue color actually on the map across the whole county. And that blue color actually is the last 5 years of the most recent 5 years actually of our paving work and our project work. So we move to the second map, and that map actually, I'm going to take that blue color actually and pull it out actually. And as you look at that map, you'll see two colors, and actually you'll see it across the whole county. Those two colors are the projects we've done in the purple are actually the pulverized pave, where we've actually redone the full pavement, actually go down and pulverize, redid that whole section, did some other work on the roadway. And the greens are actually resurfacing projects where we actually went down, took the surface actually off the roadway, and redid the surface asphalt actually on that roadway. So it's about 50-50, and we made a big push here in the last several years to actually get caught up on our pavement program. We maybe pushed a few things off, but we actually pushed up asphalt work because we had some prices that are actually a little bit lower for several years up until the last year. And we took advantage of that to really get aggressive on our pavement program to kind of get caught up actually on our turnover. And as you see the map, you'll see all across the county, it's north, south, east, west. We've actually been touching the roadways all across the whole county. And when you look at it and you think that's a lot of miles, that is. If you looked at the summary on the bottom, it's 130 miles of paving work we've done in the county. And that actually breaks 50% of our system we've actually touched in the last 5 years. So if you've kind of noticed driving around, a lot of new pavement, a lot of new roadways out there. We've actually hit over 50% of our system in the last 5 years with either a pulverize and pave project or a resurfacing project. So it's a lot of work. It's actually over 300,000 tons of asphalt work, and pretty much all the work, except for this year, we actually had a contractor on a federal job do some paving work. All the work has been done by our crews, and they've done just a great job. In the last 3 years, 2 of the 3 years, we've paved just about 90,000 tons of asphalt. So you're not going to see too many highway departments that pave that much actually in a given year of asphalt. So it's a lot of work getting done, and crews are doing a really good job. So all that paving work leads to my last map I'm going to show you. We pull up, and that's actually the pavement ratings. So when you do this much work, you're going to see your average condition of your highways start to go up. And when you look at our pavement rating map, those who are familiar from the Highway Committee or Finance Committee, we do a 1 through 10 rating scale. So you got 1 is kind of a failed road, a 10 is a brand new paved road. So you always want to see that rating get as high as you can get. And right now, you'll see a lot of the higher ratings actually on this map. You'll see a lot of 8s and 9s and 10s, and that's all the work we've been doing here in the last 5 or 6 or 7 years. So as you look at that map, we got an average pavement rating now this year after we finished our ratings of just above a 7.0 on our rating scale for our pavements. if you look in the report, you'll see back only about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I think it was, we were at about a 5.5 rating average actually in our county highway pavements. So it really has brought our average condition of our roadway up. That doesn't help, well, it doesn't happen without actually having the right kind of funding. So I really appreciate the support from the board and the administration, and our crews have just done a great job actually of really, we pushed them pretty hard here in the last several years to get a lot of work done on our roadways, and they've really picked it up and really done a really good job of actually doing that. So we feel really good in the position we're in right now. A lot of challenges right now. If you read the report, you saw with the cost of asphalt and steel and everything else has gone through the roof on us. So it's getting to be a real challenge right now trying to deal with those cost increases. But right now, we're sitting in a very good position. Feel really good about it moving forward. We're hoping the costs will, might ease back down again here is what we're hoping, we're starting to see at least some leveling off of the costs here this year. So we'll see if that continues. But I think we're in a really good position. So I just wanted to share that part, and hopefully, again, you use that, this report as a reference, a really good reference for all the board members to really look at our program and where we're at and the inventory of all our highways. So I'll leave it with that. I'm just going to show a quick video at the end here. We get a lot of questions about the different types of work we actually do at the highway department. So this year we decided to compile just a short video that we're going to post up on our Facebook page. It's less than 2 minutes, but it kind of gives you the round robin of things we actually do at the highway department. So we'll just show that real quick here to end up.
That last picture.
Yeah, right.
Any questions for Mr. Curran? I have one. Who picked up the music there?
Told him he was going to have to sing. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, we have our report from our county administrator, Mr. Waymeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sometimes it gets a little interesting because I've talked to you guys so much the last 2 months with budget that you get me one more time at the end of the year. So this won't be as long as the budget presentation, I promise. I also like it because I get to wrap up. This kind of gets to wrap up what you heard from our team and the efforts they had. And the good news that's out there and what they're doing together to serve the people of Jefferson County. So I hope you take a little bit after every annual report. Hopefully you picked up a little bit something you didn't know before of what our team does, but also I hope you realize they're very approachable in terms of what they do on a day-to-day basis and the dedication they have to everybody. So I'm going to briefly talk through a few highlights of where I feel we're at for 2023 and kind of just prepare us for 2024. So obviously the biggest thing that we spent a lot of time on this past year was talking about the strategic plan. We had a lot of great folks involved, including many in this room. Michael was a great add-on to help push us towards the finish. We had some great project leads in terms of Kevin, Matt, Deb, and Brian, all kind of taking these separate areas that we kind of identified as the prime areas to move forward. And so we're really looking forward to how this looks and kind of that launch of the new look of the logo too, of something just really connecting the various things about Jefferson County, from ag, open space, how we bridge various communities, including the metro areas, the importance of agriculture to manufacturing and small town living, and trying to bring that all together up to the future. So the teams are working hard. They intend to bring some updates to the board in February and March of where they're standing right now and looking at things for the future. And really, our big next step also is what's going to be called priority-based budgeting, which you'll be talking about tonight. And so you do have the matrix in larger print in front of you tonight, right? And so for those of you who were not around last time we did the strategic plan, here's a quick summary of what the priority-based budgeting looked like. So part of this is we do scoring. And the sheet that is before you tonight for approval under Finance Committee looks at various attributes. So the page with all the categories, and I'll talk through in a minute, is really right out of our strategic plan. The first four are those four items I talked about as our main kind of pillars or strategic objectives. And then you see two other columns. And that really is some of the things that were built into that strategic plan and comp plan that had some commonalities with the communities. Talk about safe and healthy communities, and also with sustainable resources, innovative infrastructure, and things that they pulled out. So that's partly what they score against. And then on the back, you're going to see basic program attributes. And what this is, we kind of look at all our programs are developed differently. And different mandates, different funding sources, and all that. We have some programs that have a demand and need, and some are slowly maybe not having as much of a demand and need. And so that's partly what the scoring process will walk through in the coming months. Just so you know, last time we also had county board members sitting with our groups as we went through this. So we'll probably be looking for volunteers who want to participate in that program as we look at the first quarter of 2024. So part is also looking at how we allocate those resources towards these programs. And our scoring is each department internally does it, and then you have a peer team without that person on it to kind of validate those scores. What we found last time, our department heads are harder on themselves than the peer scoring teams. And so it's just a good conversation piece of what that looks like. Some things we found from the outcomes last time. One, our budget as presented, ironically, it followed our strategic plan. You should see your priority one top quartile, where most of your budget is going towards, and kind of going like this. And guess what happened? That's ironically what we came up with when we did our scoring, and that's what we're going to continue to monitor as we go forward. One thing we also talk about is the lower quartile does not mean we're eliminating those programs. It's just a methodology is how we look at programs for the future and potentially other resources to help keep them going forward. And really our goal going into 2025 is the budget tool. And so a couple quick comments. Our last time is, one, our budget we realized tracked with a strategic plan. It was a great education. So I think many staff and board members involved were like, we do that? That's kind of a cool program, because we don't always get to talk about every single program. Mark, how many programs we inventoried? What, 860 programs of some capacity is what the county inventoried last time. And so sometimes it's once every 5 years you might do, and it might be a task that's done every single day. And so it's just a good chance to relook at those things as we look to the future. But we also identified opportunities that were for collaboration, in some cases maybe potential duplication of services or other efficiencies that came out. So the one that came out last time was talking about our fleet program that we enacted to help how do we rotate vehicles and get them cost effectively and limit the impact to our capital budgets for the future. So we handed out a bigger piece because this was really hard to read, so I'm not going to go through it again, but that is for your approval tonight before we go for approval with Finance Committee resolution. Obviously, a big part of my role in administration role is working with the team as we develop not only the budget, but how we monitor the budget and the fiscal condition of Jefferson County. I continue to be very happy with where we're at, both how we report. We continue to receive the awards for best practices from GFOA, both for budget presentation and also our annual audit. And I think that just, again, it's some extra work, but I think it also reinforces how we align goals, but it also shows how the transparency works back to the public of how those dollars are allocated and the final report of how they're spent with the audit, and we manage those resources going forward. So 2024, I think most of you are aware that we worked through some challenges, whether it's health insurance, how we continue to look at the marketplace for employee salaries. And I specifically put it here as we look at 2024 is also obviously working with the Fair Park of the new, how structure looks and making sure we have a good business operation going forward out there. As a segue going into 2024, when we look at the carryover budget process in March, there's going to be some key things that we're going to bring forward that maybe is not the normal that we bring forward to the county board as we amend the budget for 2024. A lot of these are obviously going to be subject to our final 2023 results and also looking at things that are based on operations. So example is we have, as the opioid lawsuits evolve, and we are getting final things related to that second settlement as an example, and some of these bankruptcies come forward. Our intention is to have the next phase of a plan to present to the county board, how to use some of those proceeds to be proactive and look at how we work with our community partners related to the opioid epidemic that is going on. A significant part of that conversation is also going to be what we've referred to in the past as the capital funds allocation. We did a presentation in the finance committee showing the various capital funds, but this is where we also put the land sales and the potential land sale funds that would go in as kind of a restricted holding place for right now. The intention is we bring that all back to the county board after going through the finance committee as per potential allocation of those funds, because we do have some funds for other capital projects that we also want to have a conversation with the board of potentially how to maybe look at use of those funds for the future. So I just put some examples of things that may come forward, everything from how we look at the strategic plan implementation, environmental preservation program, some of our sheriff's vehicle fleets, our building project, working through some items out there, working through some issues at the old highway site, and our housing. Just some ideas, especially that came out of the strategic plan. We're also looking at a few things related to our Community Justice Collaboration Council. Some programs that we've been waiting on program evaluation include our LIFT program, which is our driver's revocation program that we started this year. That was a one-time funding source awaiting results. And in general, I've received pretty positive results, but the Finance Committee has asked for data as we looked at for the future. One of our latest meetings, as Dr. Morris can attest to, is we started talking about how we look at pretrial and a product called Scram, which is a remote monitoring system. And we're having conversations if there's a better way and maybe how do we engage with some resources with the county potentially. And obviously, we continue to look at our pay plan updates, and we're specifically going to take the next phase with the HR committee is those who are the 5 to 10% off market. In the budget is those who are more than 10% off budget, and we're slowly working at that plan going forward. Part of this recalibrating what that 5 to 10% is, because many counties around us has awful updated their plans, so we want to make sure we have the right updated numbers. So that's March of 2024. Watch the finance and HR agenda specifically as these conversations take place for the final review in March. The other trend that we're starting to talk about is our fund balance policy. Historically, and it's not just Jefferson County, it was really 2 months, 3 months, 4 months equations. And as we're going to seminars, we're beginning to look at what are best practices as well as we look at that fund balance. And so some of the things we're seeing is risk-based. What are some of the risks that you are exposed to as a community? What is some risk as an operation, et cetera? And then how does that dictate what your fund balance might look like? We talked to this off and on through the years with Finance Committee, especially as that fund balance number continues to grow because the budget continues to grow, and kind of looking at what is that right number that we have enough, but maybe not too much, and making sure we can control the risk factors related to Jefferson County. 2025 is looking a little bit better as we start. And I say that with managing expectations because as we keep to try to reinforce, as we look at operational expenditures for 1 year, it's just not 1 year, it's an ongoing expenditure. So as we look at some of our projections in 26 and 27, that gap of revenue over expenditure starts to get a little bit closer again. And so we just want to be cautious as we enter 2025, looking at prioritization of potentially some position requests or needs that are out there, our strategic plans, and emerging things that might come forward. And then kind of just reinforce, and it kind of came out today when I shared this with Supervisor Jones, but it kind of relates to where we're doing with some of our peers. But again, we had an over 11% mill rate reduction in overall tax levy. We really had a reduction in levy of almost $500,000, and that included that early debt payoff. So the public policy forum, let's see if I can make this work for you all quickly. We released a report today after they went through all the budgets that came in across the state by school districts, the local municipalities. And this is actually a section on counties and where the levies are at and what they increased. So this is zero. And everything to the left as this grows is an increase in taxes. So Dane County is pointed out because they had about a 13.6% overall increase in taxes going forward. We're right there, about number 4 or 5 from the right, below the line. And so a positive trend when you look at many of the peers. I think we're fortunate of many things that we've been trying to do in partnership to look at that. And something we just got to continue to focus on, but just something coming out of the report, it's got a interesting thing to watch and observe as we go forward, especially with some of the state shared revenue dollars and what impact it had or maybe did not fully have to. We had, it was interesting years. I look back here because it went really quick. Some of the staff transition changes that we looked ahead. So some of these changes were driven by plans or ideas going forward. So a prime example is we brought on a facilities management coordinator or director, and that's Ryan Hayes. And trust me, I'm very appreciative because I'm not sure how this last transition of phases of construction would have gone without him being here to help us through that process. I think most of the staff can attest to that as we look to the future. But really, as many planning processes and feedback from staff was how do we look at a better way to manage our resources of infrastructure from a facility standpoint. And we got some great folks on the floor, but someone can help with that 10,000-foot view with myself, kind of advising us as we go forward. So as we look at 2024 specifically, we're going to begin to look at a conversation of greater consolidation, how that looks. Example is out in human services. Ryan's been involved with some of the interviews already for like custodial help, et cetera, but how does that eventually merge and how do we look at it from a budget? So that's also some of the next step going forward. Obviously, we also created the position of Assistant 2 position. That's kind of been out there for several years, and it's kind of evolved before we actually hired. When it initially was brought forward as an idea, it was kind of like a management analyst budget position, and I see a couple folks smiling because some folks had to give some encouragement to somebody for that to move forward. But I think Michael's been a great add to the team. And I think many of the folks who have talked to him and many of the communication pieces, which was one of our goals, is how do we better communicate back out to the board and the public and find ways to communicate time and time again, not to fully replace our communications, but just another capacity issue to how we can do some things better and really gear on some of the strategic initiatives. Although not a direct report, but happened over the last year, is just really also looking at the plans was in the JCEDC, the Economic Development Group, we changed a position from a business management role to that community development role, really because of the focus on need for housing and how our communities grow. Then the other thing is just on the right side is we've had 2 key position changes at senior staff. A new human services director with Brent and Kathy after many years retiring, and he started to get a year. And I think we kind of talked about human services board at this meeting. It was pretty seamless. We're pretty pleased with where Brent continues to take the organization. And, you know, the other day I was sitting in a meeting and we had someone outside with a group of community members, and they said, I hope you all realize how great the services Jefferson County are in the human services part. I don't think when you go to other parts, what you realize what you all have until you don't have it. And so I just think that's a compliment to the human service team and other members of the whole county team in general. Then we have this young lady, our Blair retired, and we have a new corporation council with some key roles in Jefferson County. And then we're in the midst of a direct report. Our Community Justice Collaboration Council is moving to a different role, and we're actually in the midst of hiring. And I hope to have someone in place or hire on board by the end of the year to move that forward. Obviously, one of our key things we've been working on and talking a lot about, it came up in the strategic plan quite a bit, is communication, strategic marketing, and just public information. So we're in the 3rd year of Discover Wisconsin. Tomorrow specifically will be the launch of another short talking about the fireside on their channels, and we'll get that on our links. The video turned out pretty cool. So if you have a chance, it really talks about fireside. And as an old employee of the fireside, it was kind of neat to see the old stomping grounds where I was a waiter. We're also going to be working with Uniquely Wisconsin on some new projects. That's a collaboration through the Counties Association, really talking about the storytelling. And there's some additional marketing efforts. When we sign that, we got some extras with Discover Wisconsin we're work through. And then continue with some partnerships with other entities. We're looking at the Tourism Council and et cetera, just to make sure we're all on the same page and talking the same way. Communication, we kind of briefly touched on what Michael's trying to do with that, talking about the newsletter, working with Tammy on social media and many of the other departments and what that looks like, and trying to really focus on more press releases going out the door. And then continue to look at the website and potential some updates to our website in the coming year. Housing. So when I was going through this and setting this up this morning, on PowerPoint, I don't know if you know it, on the far right corner, you can do like a design recommendation. It's kind of an artificial intelligence thing, right? And it goes, maybe do this. And I thought it was kind of ironic that over kind of discussion about the challenges of housing, it gave us a storm cloud. And I say it's just kind of like a metaphor as we look at the challenges and what we're up against, but also Donna kind of talked about how we work as a team. How do you recover from a storm? And that's exactly what we're trying to do as housing right now, is looking at all levels of housing. How can we create the tools that are needed for the communities to move forward? So obviously, we talked about the Housing Summit. We had over 160 participants this last May. Deb and her team would continue to implement some of the technical support that was done through a grant with the Greater Watertown Health Foundation. Launching a Live Local Development Fund, and we'll have our first projects coming out this year. Obviously, expansion of the Habitat and Humanity from Waukesha County out in Jefferson will be huge as we look at other parts of housing needs. Amidst of HUD certification, and Michael's actually working on a program called the Federal Financial Empowerment Center. Both of these tools are really ways as we look at ways to counsel and help with first-time home buyers, renovation, or really just how do you manage resources with the cost of housing so you're successful. And really, well, finance committee doesn't like to foreclose, right? And banks don't like to foreclose. We want to find ways to keep people in houses, and it's just really that conversation pieces. So would be like the third or fourth entity in the state that would have this available to the Jefferson County residents. And just continue to look at tools that can help out. And again, Deb and JCEDC have done a lot of work on this. Broadband. Continue to be moving pieces in 2023 and 2024. I know we'll continue to work on some issues with right-of-way in terms of cleaning up after some of the work has been done. But Charter Spectrum is using the Rural Digital Opportunity Funds and doing a lot of work, especially in the southwest part of the county, coming up from Fort, coming from the west a little bit, and to Jefferson a little bit, with more of the work to be done this upcoming year. Buck Tussle is coming from the south, going to the east towards Palmyra and building its way back up there. And that's our conduit debt project. We're prepping for how do we integrate that into our county fiber project, specifically how we connect our communications system together. And then Edge Broadband is kind of I'll call it the school district of Fort Atkinson, non-incorporated. And that was a partnership we did with them with some of our ARPA funds, but also a PSC grant. They have started as well. We maintain communications. Michael's gone to several events, and he's really helped pick up a lot, and Brian Udovich has taken on a role with a lot of the permitting, et cetera, for construction. But we have a lot of providers coming to talk to us. A lot of it's preparation for what's called BEAD grants, and that's just really that federal dollars that you might have heard about that are coming out to the state. The state of Wisconsin has been awarded over $1 billion in BEAD funding, so a lot of it's working through how are those rules going to be written, how do you access those funds, and really how do we make sure the spots that are missing broadband are filled. And the last thing is, our last couple meetings, we did look at some things with a capital grants program right now. TDS actually accepted 2 of them, just because of looking at their service territory. So we'll wait for what the PSC does with that. Capital projects. So phase 1 was, for the most part, a pretty good success. I think we got in. We had a little hiccup for a couple board members ago with some water features in the clerk of courts that we're working to rectify right now. But we're on to phase 2, working on more of the sheriff's department and the first floor courtrooms. One of the things as we kind of do a reset between this project and South Campus is kind of almost doing a reset with the 5 years facilities plan. I'm thinking as we look ahead, a highway that feels like a new building, but we're approaching a decade old of that building, so we start looking at those things that are needed for things like that. We talked a lot about this in budget, but just a reminder, we got a couple big projects coming up, including beginning part of this year, we intend to bid for the construction of the Phase 3 bridge for the Interurban Trail. Those plans should be right here hopefully shortly, and we'll get those out on the street with the intention of, because of lead times, probably August or September, it's looking like construction time for that. And then in 2025, Hopefully, we got two big projects going on. One is the County Highway D, looking at potentially resurfacing and get a bridge done. And the intention of the highway shop is get that all done together. So we don't have one closure and a second closure. And then also bid and build the remainder part of Phase 3 trail, the asphalt for interurban. And Waukesha is planning on getting their part done, anticipate probably about 2026. So we'll hopefully have that done here soon. So last quick slide. So 2024 and beyond. So prepping ahead. Y'all are starting to fill out forms for elections, so we're prepping as well as our role of support and education coming ahead. And I know Michael's been talking to several of you, just looking at ideas for orientation and things that we can look at for improvements going forward. So obviously we have board reviews are going on with the executive committee right now. They're going to be doing another review at the meeting at the end of December based on feedback with a red line copy that Corp Counsel will be presenting. The intention is in January is then present that as a special order of business, not for action, but to the board, so you know what's being discussed at the executive committee. So you want to provide additional feedback, you may do so. There's a couple topics that might come to you directly just to get some feedback to the executive committee. Talking about how do we elect chairs of committees is an example that might have different ideas. And so that's something that we're going to continue to work on. We're working with staff and committee chairs, just kind of put it out there as we look till March. We're looking at key items of business, just depending on how quickly committees are formed, et cetera, so we can maintain continuity of business within Jefferson County. So please keep in loop with your staff to make sure we have those items for the, with the March board meeting kind of being that final grouping of this. And then orientation, we talked about that already, but plan on that formal one being on the second Tuesday in April, but we're going to look at other shorter ones because that's some of the feedback is, don't give me a 4-hour one. Let's look at short ones that we can do forward. Strategic planning, we talked about that already. I think we're going to continue to focus on intergovernmental opportunities to work together. Tonight, you're going to see one related to GIS and how that might work. Look at trial things, but also looking at how we do work with our first responders. Transportation continues to be one that comes up, along with housing with our communities. And continue to look at other partnerships. And then finally, I think the other big things become the recruitment and retention in the marketplace. That continues to move quickly as we look at how we fill roles. And then finally, what each of the technology changes look like. I think, like I mentioned, a simple thing on AI and PowerPoint. Mark presented his annual presentation with that. We have folks actually starting to use chat just to get them started on wordsmithing, things like that. But that's actually in transforming the government. How do we look at technology? How does it assist us, how we operate to be more efficient, and as we look to the future? So we're pretty excited, I think, for 2024. I don't think there's going to be any slowdown. I think some folks might be disappointed in me saying that, but I think there's some great opportunities, but we also have some challenges, and I think that's just part of our role as we look to the future. So with that being said, Mr. Chair, I'll take any questions.
Questions for Mr. Waymeyer? Any questions? Thank you very much, Ben. Takes us to committee reports and resolutions. Oh, excuse me. Item 10, County Administrator, two resolutions. Ben has asked me to read these since I served with both of these individuals. Maybe a few of you here may have been on the end of their service here in our county board. But first of all, Resolution 2023-54 in memoriam of Alfred Al J. Foskett. Whereas Alfred Al Foskett was born September 30th, 1932 and died on October 21st, 2023 at the age of 91. And whereas Alfred served the citizens of his supervisory district 18 at various times, first being seated on April 18th, 1989 and serving till April 2000. He returned to the county board on April 16th, 2022 and served till April 20th, 2024. And whereas as a county board supervisor, Alfred served on the Human Services, Personnel, and Finance Committee, the Legislation and Rules, Finance, and Law Enforcement Committees, and was chairperson of the Jefferson County Human Services Board. And whereas fitting for Alfred Foskett to be recognized by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors for his public service, dedication, and thoughtfulness, which will be missed by many. Now therefore be it resolved that the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors meeting this 12th day of December 2023 does hereby extend its sincere sympathy to the family of Alfred Frosket, along with his resignation of his service, the recognition of his service and dedication to the citizens of Jefferson County. The fiscal note passes. Resolution has no fiscal impact. I just want to let you know that Al was a great public service. He's also a retired state patrolman. And he was the person that really put the impetus behind cleaning up and mapping Potter's Field. So a lot of thanks to Al on that. He used to sit right next to me on the board, so I knew Al quite well. I move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Second by Mr. Paulson. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Resolution 2023-55, in memoriam of Wendell Wendy Wilson. Whereas Wendell Wendy Wilson of Watertown was born July 13th, 1932, and died on November 27th, 2023, at the age of 91. And whereas Wendell served on the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors for District 8 from June 8th, 1971 until April 20th, 2024, and was chairperson from April 16th, 1990 to April 20, 2024. Whereas as a County Board Supervisor, Wendell served on the Parks, Institutions and Equalization Committees, the Inter-County Data Processing Commission, the Inter-County Coordinating Committee, the Judiciary Committee, the Planning and Zoning Committee, the Administrative Committee, and was chairperson of the Finance Committee and Human Resources Committee. And whereas as County Board Chairperson, Wendell demonstrated leadership and professionalism in the administration of this office that were remembered by those he came in contact with. And whereas it is fitting for Wendell Wilson to be recognized by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors for his public service, dedication, and thoughtfulness, which will be missed by many. Now therefore be it resolved that Jefferson County Board of Supervisors meeting this 12th day of December 2023 does hereby extend its sincere sympathy to the family of Wendell Wilson, along with the recognition of his service and dedication to the citizens of Jefferson County. Fiscal note passed with this resolution has no fiscal impact. And Mr. Wilson was the chair of the board when I started on the board, and I mentioned to his family, I went to the funeral, and I mentioned to his family they missed one thing in his obituary, that he was a proud member of the Jefferson County Maxwell Street Days Marching and Frog Legging Society. He was proud of that. He always had a pin on his lapel. And he and our former county administrator, Bill Housen, used to always go to those meetings once a month. And mostly it was a chance to eat frog legs and drink beer. So with that, I move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Second by Mr. Jaco. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Thank you. Committee reports, resolutions, and ordinances. Executive Committee, resolution authorizing the execution of intergovernmental agreements with the City of Fort Atkinson and the City of Watertown for GIS services. Mr. Winnicke.
Resolution number 2023-56, authorizing the execution of intergovernmental agreements with the City of Fort Atkinson and the City of Watertown for GIS services. Jefferson County hosts and maintains the primary land records for Jefferson County and continues to work to expand the use of these systems and data through its Geographical Information System, commonly referred to as GIS. The GIS system provides a variety of data sources that can assist in a variety of policy and decision-making processes, from layout of utilities and roadways to data points for various programs. In 2020, a study was done which recommended that that they explore combining some of these services with other municipalities. In early 2023, a local governmental meeting was held where the opportunity to collaborate on GIS services was discussed. I'm losing myself. Jefferson County intends to hire a GIS specialist who will dedicate a percentage of time to providing technical assistance for GIS projects to the cities of Watertown and Fort Atkinson, with provisions for cost and data sharing. The county's fiscal year 2024 budget accounted for this proposed cooperative agreement. It is anticipated that the service could be expanded in the future if other municipalities desire to participate. This resolution authorizes the county administrator to execute intergovernmental agreements with the cities of Fort Atkinson and Watertown to provide GIS services. The Planning and Zoning Committee reviewed the enclosed draft agreements on November 27th and unanimously endorsed moving it forward. The Executive Committee reviewed the agreements on November 29th, 2023, and recommended forwarding to the County Board unanimously. The fiscal note is the anticipated revenue, new staff position, related costs have all been included within the fiscal year 2024 budget. If you look at the agreement presented, it's available. I would point out under item 15, under term, the delivery of services under this agreement shall commence on January 1st, 2024, or when the date of hire of the budgeted position. Mr. Chairman, I move approval as amended.
Moved by Mr. Winnicke. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Paulson. Questions, discussion? Mr. Gross.
Yeah, don't we already have a GSI person already with the highway department?
So we have a GIS individual at the highway, and then we have actually two down in land information.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so we have to hire another one then?
Based on what is requested in the contracts and the staffing needs for that, plus the growing needs of the county, it was the best interest to add the position from a capacity standpoint. And that was what was recommended in the 2024 budget.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Takes us to Finance Committee. Supervisor Jones, resolution accepting the Department of Justice's deflecting court involvement due to school refusal grant at the Human Services Department.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution number 2023-57. Jefferson County Human Services was recently awarded a grant from the Department of Justice, DOJ, to deflect youth referred to the youth justice system for school refusal behaviors and chronic truancy. The county received a grant in the amount of $63,243. This grant will allow for the department to implement intervention programs for students at risk of truancy at local high schools and middle schools, provide family-based case management with students, provide school mentors to meet with students at the school as well with their families, use evidence-based practices to work with teachers and teacher aides in school to address crisis behavior in the classroom that can lead to school suspension and add to school refusal behavior. This resolution authorizes acceptance of the Department of Justice deflecting court involvement due to school refusal grant in the amount of $63,243 and amends the Human Service Department's 2024 budget accordingly. On December 6, 2023, the Finance Committee reviewed the request from the Human Service Director and recommended forwarding this resolution to County Board for approval. Fiscal note, please see the attached budget adjustment or amendment request form for proposed adjustments to the 2024 budget. This budget amendment, County Board approval requires a 2/3 vote of the entire membership of the County Board, 20 votes of a 30-member County Board. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Jones. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Jekyll. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Supervisor Richardson?
Aye.
Supervisor Herbst?
Aye.
We have 27 yes, 1 no, and 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Takes us to next resolution by the Finance Committee. Resolution accepting $4,175 in restricted donations to the Jefferson County Health Department's Safe Sleep Program and amending the 2023 budget. Mr. Jones.
Resolution 2023-58. The Jefferson County Health Department has ordered a total of $4,175 in restricted donations for the Safe Sleep Program. The Randy Chopin Foundation awarded $2,000 and Aurora Medical Center awarded $2,175 towards the purchase of pack and plays and safe sleep kits to ensure a safe sleep environment for families in need. The Jefferson County Health Department has successfully implemented a Safe Sleep Program for many years for families in Jefferson County. This program demonstrates to parents and caregivers the importance of providing safe sleep environments for infants. There are incidents of infants dying as a result of unsafe sleep environments, and this program helps to mitigate that, providing education and a pack and play to families with limited resources. Using an evidence-based program, public health nurses from the Jefferson County Health Department made a home visit to each family receiving the safe sleep information, demonstrated how to set up the pack and play, and provide education on how to ensure a safe sleep environment for their infant. The resolution authorizes the acceptance of $4,175 in restricted donations for the Safe Sleep Program and amends the Jefferson County Health Department's 2023 budget accordingly. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its December 6, 2023 meeting and recommended forwarding to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, this resolution authorizes the county finance director to take the necessary budget adjustment to enact this resolution. This is a budget amendment. Passage of this resolution requires a two-thirds vote of the Board of Supervisors, 20 of the 30 votes needed for approval. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Christensen. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Supervisor Richardson,
Aye.
Supervisor Herbst,
Aye.
we have 28 yes and 0 no and 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Resolution by the Finance Committee reauthorizing self-insuring workers' compensation liability.
Resolution number 2023-59. Jefferson County is self-insured for workers' compensation instead of having an outside insurance provided. Every 3 years, the county must file a resolution to help insure it with the Department of Workforce Development. The county works with an insurance consultant to determine if there's cost savings to the county to continue self-insuring workers' compensation liability. The estimate cost per year for the Jefferson County to purchase worker compensation insurance would be $674,996 or $2,024,988 for 3 years. From 2020 through 2022, the county spent $418,860 in claims, administrative costs, and excess premiums. This resolution authorizes the continuation of self-insured workers' compensation program that is currently in effect. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on December 6, 2023, and recommending forward to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, the county has self-insured complete compensation liability since 1981. The average annual cost of this program fluctuates each year. The county cost was approximately 21% of the conventional insurance when last priced by the county's insurance consultant in 2023. This cost is included in the 2024 budget. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Supervisor Jones. Who second? Mr. Zarling. Yeah. Questions? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, resolution passes. Resolution adopting the results matrix for priority-based budgeting. Mr. Jones.
Resolution number 2023-60, at the direction of the county board, this is the one that Mr. Waymeyer referred to during his presentation on the big piece of paper there. At the direction of the County Board of Supervisors, the county has embarked on a priority-based budgeting process. This process requires a full inventory of all county services to be performed. Costs and revenues corresponding to the delivery of these services are individually assigned to these services from the county's adopted budget. The services are then scored on several criteria to determine their ranking in order of budget priorities. The programs are scored on two types of attributes. Basic program attributes, which are universal to all government programs, include scores on mandate, reliance, is the county the sole service provider, cost recovery, population served, and demand, increasing or decreasing. And two, county government results, which are specific to Jefferson County and its strategic plan. Administration has developed the result matrix that incorporates the specific values and goals of the county strategic plan and defines the county government results. The intent of the results matrix is to provide a framework for scoring the county's program, which will ultimately become the basics for budget decisions. The goal of this process is to align the county's budget with the strategic plan in order to realize the vision set forth in the strategic plan. This resolution adopts the attached results matrix to be used in Jefferson County's priority-based budget process going forward. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on December 6, 2023, and recommended forward it to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, the passage of this resolution will impact the budget by aligning the county's programs with the strategic plan. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Jones. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Item E under Finance Committee, resolution authorizing the sale of Jefferson County property to Project Dove LLC. Mr. Jones.
Resolution number 2023-61. Jefferson County is strategically focused on attracting and facilitating business expansion in collaboration with community partners. This resolution outlines the pursuit of a significant multi-state site selection process culminating in the selection of county-owned property located in the city of Jefferson to be the new production facility of a global food processing company. This transformative project aligns with the city and county's comprehensive plans and economic development strategies. It is expected to bring substantial economic benefits to the community. The county has extensively evaluated development potential of this property since 1994, with recent considerations in 2018. After engaging with various stakeholders, including UW-Whitewater Fiscal and Economic Research Center, and the concept of food and beverage innovation campus has emerged. Jefferson County's strategic objection to attract and support businesses finds a significant milestone in the collaborative pursuits of the Food and Beverage Innovation Campus. The proposed project is set to occupy approximately 100 acres of the approximately 345 acres owned by Jefferson County and the city of Jefferson, depicted as Lot 3 in Exhibit A. Phase construction is anticipated with the first phase commencing in the first quarter of 2024. This initial phase includes 200,000 square feet of office, production, and warehouse space, generating 50 full-time positions. Phase 2 would include an additional 100,000 plus square feet and 40 additional full-time positions. Between facilities and equipment, the total investment of this project is anticipated. In the resolution, it reads $500 million. We have learned that it's probably increased just under $550 million. Just recently there. It is anticipated this food processing operation will be the anchor tenant of the Food and Beverage Innovation Campus. This venture is backed not only by Jefferson County, but also by the city of Jefferson, which has demonstrated an exceptional commitment to the project. Notably, the city anticipates allocating 90% of the tax increment generated by this project to support the infrastructure costs for development through the creation of a tax increment finance or TIF district. Given the state of Wisconsin's restrictions that no more than 12% of a community's equalized value may be placed in a TIF, this investment underscores the city's unwavering dedication as it limits potential growth in other areas of the city. As a result, the Food and Beverage Innovation Campus becomes a catalyst for broader growth and development, thanks for the collaborative commitment of both Jefferson County and the city of Jefferson. The county board has been regularly updated on this project throughout 2023 in closed sessions on August 8th, September 12th, and November 14th, 2023. The county administrator received a letter of intent from Project Dove LLC proposing to purchase the subject property, Exhibit A, Lot 3, for purchase price of $30,000 per acre, subject to contingencies. This resolution authorizes the county administrator to execute the letter of intent, negotiate and execute the purchase and sale agreement, and complete all necessary documentations and contingencies to close the sale of the subject property. The Finance Committee considered the parameters of the agreement in a closed session on December 6, 2003, and voted 5-0 in open session to recommend forwarding this resolution to County Board for approval. Fiscal note, the potential sale proceeds of approximately $3 million, less closing costs and any other ancillary expenses associated with the final sale contract that shall be deposited into the capital project fund and a track under a specific project code assigned by the Finance Department. The Finance Committee will consider a plan for the use of these funds at its March 6, 2024 meeting. The County Board of Supervisors will consider the recommendation of the Finance Committee at its March 13, 2024 meeting. Other than closing costs and any other ancillary costs related to the sale of the property, no proceeds from this sale shall be allocated or spent until the County Board of Supervisors approves the spending plan and adopts a resolution that amends the budget for that plan. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Jekyll. Discussions, questions? Mr. Waymire.
Just a couple quick updates on the site plan that was provided in the LOI. We'll continue to work with the company that will be prepared to announce at some point in the future related to this layout. They are probably going to move the layout a little bit farther north to facilitate having some of the property open here to the south for future needs. We will continue to work with them what we reserve for the park facilities maintenance building. That might have to shrink a little bit, but we could have talked to the city about some other spots to make sure we have enough space for the future to move forward. This did go through the rezoning process last week in front of the city council, where the rezoning was unanimously approved by the city council as well. The last little note that we were asked to kind of forward is just really talking about the company's desire as a community partner. And I think that's part of their ethos, and what they wanted to demonstrate to you all tonight was just saying what they've done in other communities where the company is at. Their intention is to have a similar investment in communities as they move forward. So, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waymire. Any other questions, discussion? Mr. Gulick.
Yes, I have a question. In previous discussions relative to this, I can't remember if it was in closed session or open session, there were concerns raised about funding for the Land and Water Conservation Department, which derives great benefit from the rentals on the farm as it's currently rented. Mr. Waymire, I believe in the past you've said that the Land and Water Conservation Department, I think your words were, would be made whole following this, if that's a correct quote. Can you explain to us how Land and Water will be made whole without an additional tax burden on the county?
So what has occurred currently is initially those funds were placed into the Land and Water Department, the lease itself. This year, that was placed into our general revenue pot, just like we use for state share revenue or sales tax. And then as part of our formula for how we reallocate out levy assignments, which really becomes their budget goals, they had that levy target was anticipated with that reduction, even like the Nestle Purina was already taken care of. So that is how we shifted those dollars from a priority standpoint to reallocate those funds.
Other questions? Questions? Supervisor Martin.
This is not really a question, but in the past, a couple of months ago, when we were talking about potential sale of county farmland, and I am calling it that because that's what it is, we had requested a policy be developed. And as we go forward, we really do need a policy that we can agree upon, disagree upon, come up with as a board. Otherwise, things are not as clear. There could be decisions made by the Finance Committee that we need a policy. So I'm just requesting going forward that we have some drafts of policies to consider as a board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussions? Mr. Gulig?
Yes, one more question. I think this is a follow-up to my colleague's statement just a few seconds ago. And that is, can somebody on the Finance Committee perhaps explain to me why this issue of revenues from farmland, county-owned farmland sales being allocated to farmland preservation hasn't been addressed? And it wasn't addressed clearly in the Nestle Purina sale. It wasn't addressed clearly in the most recent small acreage sale that we made. This sale has been on the horizon for a long time. And it seems that we're postponing the decision on what to do with the revenues until after it's sold, when the board rules direct us really to either have a policy in place or to allocate these funds to farmland preservation. I can focus that question to the Finance Committee if that's necessary. If not, I'll take an answer. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
I do believe we do have a policy that's been around for quite a few years. The farmland preservation money, when the County 26 highway went through, was 2004 or so, when that was set up, approximately. And why we didn't do anything in the meantime, I guess none of these sales were final until we vote here tonight, for one thing. And we didn't know the final amount. And I think a policy is going to come about, as read in the resolution and the fiscal note in March of 2024. It'll be a plan on how this money would be spent or distributed. And we'll need the approval of the full county board to do that. The Finance Committee will only be recommending what we think would be best, based on our function as a Finance Committee. No one's trying to pull a fast one or anything like this, and farmland preservation concept will definitely be have the chance to present its case, and we'll see where the chips fall, I guess. Thank you.
I think the executive committee is well aware of this and is helping to establish a policy here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman of the executive, Mr. Winnicky. We're aware. I saw a hand up. Mr. Paulson.
Well, Mr. Waymeyer, I think Supervisor Gulig is confused about what exactly that position states, how it states. It doesn't say it naturally goes there. It says it can go there. And that's based on what the board decides they want to have happen. Am I correct in that?
Do you want to ask more of a legal standpoint?
Go ahead.
You want me to take it?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Joseph.
So this was reviewed with the previous corporation council, and their interpretation as well is that the Finance Committee shall make a recommendation to the county board, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, a case-by-case basis would consider the farmland preservation would be one of the areas, especially to maximize the use of federal and state grants. As we look at, there's a resolution in 2008 that I think we referenced last time that was approved by the county board. That was prior to the sale of the property for US 26. I believe our chair was one of the authors of that resolution, which kind of helped basically that conceptual framework of the consideration when the county farmland or the property, so I don't get in either way, but out there on the south side was sold. That was definitely a consideration that some of those funds should go towards. As we look at the history post that resolution that was incorporated to the board rules, some of the wording from the resolution was changed to the board rules that added the word shall. But specifically when the highway, the US 26 property is sold, roughly 20% of the funds from that sale, from what we can tell, was put into the farmland preservation program. I can't totally tell from what I can see if the 20% was a specific formula or if it was closely more aligned with what I've heard also that was aligned with the value of farmland as well, that would go into that fund. The next time I can find that we sold farmland related to the county was when Alden Estates, which was the county's nursing home, included 20 acres of farmland as part of that sale. That's right across the river, across the street. I cannot find the records yet with Mark if any of those funds were actually allocated by that farmland into the program as well. Doesn't mean they weren't. We can't find a fiscal history necessary related to that. I think I'm trying to dance through the interpretation of rules, but ultimately the board, it's your board rules. So if there's a desire to change it, that's also those opportunities. Do you have anything else I missed on that?
Only thing I would say, there's been some ongoing staff discussions, and we're planning on meeting in a week or two to have a further discussion and coming up with a policy to deal with this issue. Anybody else before I call Mr. Gulick again? Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concern is if we've done our due diligence before voting or rubber stamping this issue, to call it Project Dove, describe it as a food and beverage facility is somewhat misleading, or we haven't really told the public what we're doing. To me, there should be some kind of public presentation where people can comment, and maybe we can get someone like Mike Kelly, who's a former supervisor who worked at the water department, to make his comments or to get his input, because I've called the Johnson Creek Public Works Department twice, left a message on a machine, but I have yet to get or be able to have a conversation with our water department to know how this might affect Johnson Creek and what kind of safeguards we should put into the agreement. So as we were in closed session and the question was raised as to the effect of the groundwater in the future, Land and Water said they didn't know the impact or what it's going to be, which I can appreciate, because you'd almost have to know the weather 20 or 30 years from now if we're in a drought, because our groundwater comes from here. It doesn't come from somewhere, so it's in the form of rain and seepage from lakes and rivers. So I can appreciate, we can't predict the future, but what about the past? And I ask this because in a show that I watch every week, 2 weeks ago, they did a presentation on groundwater in the cover story, and Cochise County, 60 years ago, you could hit water at 107 feet. Today, it's 547 feet. So I would have to ask, do we know our current water usage around Jefferson, what the depth was that you could hit water, 50 years ago, how about 10 or 20 years ago, and today, to know the local impact of what we're using now, to kind of get an idea. As you talk about phase 3 or 4, we don't know how much water they're going to be using. So before I can support this, I need to know I've done my due diligence, and to be able to have time to talk to people that possibly in a month or something I could support this, but I know tonight I can't. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Anything you want to address there, Mr. Wingmeyer?
I think related to the utilities in general, there was, as part of the site selection process that was issued by the state of Wisconsin to the various parts of the state, there's criteria of what utility capacity that you had to have in place to meet the requirements. That included how much municipal water was available, how much sanitary sewer was available, and that included various things such as how to deal with biosolids and things like that as well. They sought what kind of power resources were nearby, and including natural gas. And so the city is aware of the needs, demands related to the current system. And they have believed, based on the engineering, that they can fulfill that with where they're at today. So how does that impact others? I don't believe it. I can't say because I'm not an engineer, but if it's within the scope of what the city can handle today, I am not sure how much of an impact it would have to, say, Johnson Creek as an example.
All I can say is this, and it's strictly testimonial, but one of my friends in Lake Mills drilled his well in 1961. It was 60 feet. He had to put in a new well now, and it was 60 feet. So and we're about as far away as Crick is from Jefferson. So that may just be anecdotal, but it is what it is. Any other questions? Mr. Gulick?
Yes, I have no confusion about Resolution 2008-15. The resolution that led to in essence, led to the board rules that we've now discussed quite a bit over the last several months. The board rules relative to revenues from sales of county-owned farmland. The intent of the resolution 2008-15 was expressly and completely to protect other farmlands in the county from future development as we sell current county farmland. The concern I have is that as the resolution was amended in 2008 to include the language that we now know on a case-by-case basis shall recommend to the board allocation of the proceeds from sale of county-owned farmland to possibly increase the acreage and so on and so forth, that in none of the three cases that we've discussed in the last year has that revenue been allocated to that purpose. That's my concern. It's not really a question and doesn't require a response. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions, discussion? Seeing none, this only requires a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Hey,
Oh,
can
no.
I get a, I'd like a roll call.
Oh, requested roll call by Supervisor Paulson. Can we set that up? All right. So roll call vote.
Supervisor Richardson,
Aye.
Supervisor Herbst,
Aye.
Supervisor Roberts,
I did vote.
okay, it's not showing.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it passes 25-3. Takes us to Human Services Board, resolution amending the Marsh Country Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement for Jefferson County Human Services. Mr. Jones.
Resolution number 2023-62. Jefferson County Human Services is part of an intergovernmental cooperative agreement with 12 other counties which created the Marsh Country Health Alliance. The member counties are allowed use of the Clearview Behavioral Health Facility located in and operated by Dodge County. Per the terms of the existing intergovernment agreement, the members counties meet annually to establish the budget and annual rate assessment for each member county. The most recent assessment for Jefferson County was only $594. That's a yearly rate, as over 85% of the utilization is from Dodge and Waukesha counties compared to Jefferson's .40. Past assessments for Jefferson County were in 2020, $1,643, 2021, $1,246, and 2022, $1,246. The Marsh County Health Alliance wishes to streamline the budget and rate setting process to allow member counties to remotely object to any parts of the budget or annual rate setting assessment. Per the terms of the amendment, members will not be required to attend the annual meeting for the budget or rate setting proposal to become effective. If no objections are received by the time of the annual meeting, the budget and assessment rate shall be set as recommended by Dodge County at the annual meeting. This resolution authorizes Jefferson County Human Services to execute the attached Amendment 1 to amend and reinstated in governmental cooperation agreement creating Marsh County Health Alliance. The Human Service Board considered this resolution at its meeting on December 12, 2023, and recommended forward to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, the proposed assessment for Jefferson County Human Services for 2024 has already been incorporated into the 2024 budget. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this amendment.
Moved by Mr. Jones. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussion? Seeing none? Excuse me. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Takes us to Planning and Zoning Committee. Supervisor Jaco, report and ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Report to the honorable members of Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee, having considered petitions to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County, filed for public hearing held on November 16th, 2023, as required by law pursuant to Wisconsin statutes. Notice thereof having been given and being duly advised of the wishes of the town boards and persons in the affected areas, hereby makes the following recommendations. Approval of petitions as listed, dated this 27th day of November 2023, Blaine Paulson, Secretary. That takes us on to the ordinance number
19.
19, amending the official zoning map of Jefferson County. I move to pass the ordinance as listed.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Paulson. Questions, discussion? Supervisor Kennard.
I'll abstain for a potential conflict of interest.
Do noted. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance passes. Takes us to public comment of a general nature. Is there anything else? Oh, excuse me, that's right. I had the appointments and it's not on my list here. There's appointments for county administrator here first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, Donna's going to be out for a little bit for FMLA leave. And based on her roles and responsibilities, statutory requirements, when we have an interim director, we do have to have a confirmation vote of that interim director for emergency medical management. So I respectfully request by virtue of the authority vested in me under section 323.14, parent 1, parent A of Wisconsin statute, respectfully request a confirmation of the following appointment. Ms. Tracy Newhouser as the interim director of emergency management. Respectfully request a confirmation of this interim appointment.
Move to approve.
Moved by Morris, second by Mr. Jaco. Questions? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the appointment is made. Again, now, public comment of a general nature, is there any? Listed? Okay, takes us to announcements. Notice our next meeting is January 9th, 2024, and Mr. Winnicky will be presiding since I will be on vacation.
Don't you get sick.
With that, I wish you all happy holidays, and I'll motion for adjournment. Moved by Mr. Gulig, second by Mr. Jaco. This is not debatable. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none? We are adjourned.